If you're wanting to travel through Europe and don't know where to start with planning your trip, I'm sharing my complete Paris to Florence by train itinerary, making stops in Nice and La Spezia along the way. It's so easy to plan out your whole trip using the Trainline app, but first I spent a few days in Paris. If you want to see London too, you could even start there before taking the Eurostar to Paris. But some things I really recommend doing, aside from the Eiffel Tower of course, include enjoying all the beautiful French cafes that are all over the city. French cuisine is some of the best in the world for a reason, but we'll get more into that in a second. I spent a day exploring the Louvre. There's so much to see, from the architecture to countless exhibits, and of course the Mona Lisa. I also found an underground jazz show, which was such a unique experience. It was in French, so I didn't understand any of it, but I had the best time nonetheless. Now back to the French food. If you're feeling a splurge, I highly recommend the Michelin star restaurant Bouderie for a tasting menu selection of adventurous flavors and pairings. As you gear up for your next stop, why not head to the south of France? It's around a 5-hour train ride from Paris, which is the perfect opportunity to see so much of France. Finding the right train to book can sometimes be overwhelming and confusing, but Trainline makes booking all your train routes easy. You have your choice of all train times and prices available, so you can choose the option that's best for you and book your trip directly in the app. While in Nice, you have to spend an evening in Monaco, enjoy a lunch in Villefranche-sur-Mer, I do not speak French, and dine at the famous Le Blanchot restaurant. This is the perfect place to watch the sunset over the Mediterranean or just stop in for a drink. It's built on top of rocks high above the water and actually used to be a diving board, fun fact. Next, head over to La Spezia to kick off your Italian adventure. This is also around a 5-hour journey and requires a couple of train changes. However, Trainline makes this as easy as possible with their live platform and train time updates, so you're never left wondering where your train is or where you need to be to board. Right by La Spezia is Cinque Terre, so how I recommend spending the perfect day there is by booking your ticket in the Trainline app to find out how to access these hidden gems, as they aren't always accessible by other forms of public transport. I would recommend starting in the town of Monterosso, renting some chairs at the beach, and soaking up the sun through lunchtime. Then head over to Manarola to watch or partake in some cliff jumping into the gorgeous blue waters. You can get those classic Cinque Terre views here and maybe enjoy a cordino or two. We're in Italy after all. Lastly, round out the evening in Rio Maggiore on a sunset boat cruise. There are lots of options available, and you get to sail for a couple of hours, soaking up the stunning coastline from the water and stopping for more swimming while the sun sets. If you're a solo traveler, you can also meet friends this way before rounding out the night back at your hotel in La Spezia. It's much more affordable to stay here than in Cinque Terre directly, and the town of La Spezia has a lot of charm, fun activities, and of course gelato as well. Now head to your final stop in Florence, which is only a short 2-hour direct train away. Especially by the coastline, the train views are stunning and not something you want to miss. One of my favorite restaurants in Florence is Le Menagerie, which is a cafe during the day and a delicious dinner spot in the evening. And don't worry, we'll get to the Italian food too. Florence is a very walkable city, so I think a great way to spend an afternoon is just by walking around near the Duomo, seeing what hidden gems you stumble across, and stopping for lunch at Mercato Centrale, which is Florence's food hall. You can try a variety of Italian delicacies at the different vendors, so it's a great way to sample a lot of different foods, and everyone in your group can find something that they love here. I was loving the pizza, if you can't tell. Another great food spot is Trattoria Zaza, where we had potentially our favorite meal in Florence, and the prices are so reasonable here. As for some after dark fun, Florence is lively all night long, so you'll find street musicians and people dancing on so many corners of the city. For some other daytime activities, I loved taking a cooking class at a Tuscan farmhouse where we learned how to make gelato from scratch and also got to make our own pizzas in a classic Italian pizza oven. We chose pistachio gelato, my favorite, and then we got to pick all of our pizza toppings and even learned how to throw the pizza dough up in the air. I was pretty nervous, but nailed it, and it was delicious. We also went on a half-day winery tour where we got to visit 2 different vineyards, trying lots of local produce and learning all about the history of the vineyards. And of course, not a bad view of the Tuscan countryside along the way. That wraps up this itinerary traveling from Paris to Florence by train. It all ran really smoothly, and I got to take in some of the amazing sights and experiences thanks to some planning and Trainline's app. Be sure to download the app to get started organizing your next train trip and have so much fun on your European adventure.